Greetings and salutations, good folk of Terrania. It is I, Lamel, your fearsome leader on our adventures in hobbying. I would like to welcome you back to the Hobby Den. Yeah, I know that's not our standard introduction, but I'm rolling with it. I'm having fun. I'm doing hobby. Now, if you've not been on the channel for a while, if you're new to the channel, I'm Lamel, and I don't do normal YouTube content. Yeah, I'm about terrain building. I love terrain building. Makes me happy. I know quite a lot about it, apparently. Wrote a book and everything. It's over there. Shameless promo. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing my hobby. And as I'm doing my hobby, I'm sharing it along with you. So this may not be your normal content because we may ramble, we may have stories, we may do interesting things. I may go over topics I've done before. Yeah, because I'm doing my hobby. But I'm inviting you along to do your hobby with me. So expect this video to be not a brief one because why rush hobby? Put it on, get a brew, get your models out, do whatever you do, listen along, but most importantly, yeah, learn. Now, what we're covering in this video is swamping up me rocks, me swamps, me rocks. I've done me rocks. Yeah, but we're adding the actual resin to the swamp. But we're also doing some extra things. But I've got a theme I want to run along this video. Yeah, and the theme is finished, not perfect. Yeah, getting things done. You see, I have a bit of a problem, and I know a lot of us struggle with this, and I've had struggles with anything when it comes to thinking, and the issue is that quite often I get tied up and sets get dragged out because I'm looking to make them perfect or as best as they can, when in truth, they're actually done long before that point and quite good. Yeah, it's a whole load of reasons, and we can talk about those, we may talk about those, we may not, but it's a desire to make something really good. It's also, an underlying sort of fear of it isn't good enough. Yeah, when they perfectly are, because they're done for gaming, and that's what they're for. And so, in this project, yeah, I've had those feelings with this. So I'm calling a line on this, and I'm going to call it done after we've done the resin, the wet work. Yeah, because they are done. But I'm going to carry on after that. But you're not going to see that. Now, the reason you're not going to see that is quite simple. It's because, as you're aware, I'm an ambassador for Models for Hero. This is a Veterans and Emergency Services charitable organisation. Got to be careful, can't call it a charity because we're CIC. Yeah, Community Incorporated Company. It's like a charity light. Yeah, but we're not an official registered charity. But legalities, you gotta love it. We do charitable work, but basically we send out model kits to veterans and emergency services who are off work or off duty because of mental health, or either perhaps they're no longer serving and they're veteran and retired, yeah, and they're struggling, and it helps them with the model, and we run like group sessions. Now this set, I've decided, as ways of sort of raising awareness, I'm also going to raise money for them. So if you would like to get your hands on a terrain shooter terrain set in future, all terrain sets that I'm going to be building in the main, I'm planning on sending down to Models for Heroes for them to run a raffle. So one of the reasons I want to get this done is so I can say, right lads, it's done. And then whilst they're sort of sorting out and they can actually see, right, what can we do and prepare that stuff, I'm going to potter and make it a little bit better. Yeah, seek that little bit more perfection. Increase its perceived value for when it goes on raffle so we get more people, but at the same time, give you guys something to look forward to when it goes on raffle, because I'll also be showing off lots of little things that I've done, yeah, without the pressure, because it's done. Because it doesn't matter if I don't get any of those things done after it is done, because they can have it because it's done. And on that, I think we're all done. Right, let's talk terrain. Yeah, obviously before we do talk terrain, yeah, we need to mention the garb. I've decided, I really like this. I'm going to get a few more of these. You may see a few more of these appearing on my Amazon wish list. If you're going to get me one of these for comedy value or something like that, please get something for the studio that will help me making content to help other people. There's lots of little things, from minor things like just little materials, and there's a couple of bigger things, but they're not that big in the grand scheme of things. But if you want to get me wild stuff like this because it makes you giggle and it releases your endorphins, so you're feeling good and you're looking forward to what I could be wearing in the next vid, because I am, yeah, it's the Amazon wish list, links down below. But I want to introduce you, yeah, to some people who are dear to me. Yeah, right, okay, which one is it? Right, the top one, That's terrain. These are the people I learnt terrain from. Yeah, YouTube terrain. Yeah, that's Terrainaholic, that's Terran Skates, and that's the Carl Olympian. And if you've never heard of those three people, you should look up their channels on YouTube. Yeah, especially the Carl Olympian, because he's Otto out of the Simpsons doing terrain. I jest you not, he drove a school bus and he was a stoner. Yeah, he was banned from the town. The only place in the town he was allowed to go to was the petrol station because he drove the school bus. Him and his brother had the contract. The Carl Olympian's channel, he's got loads of really good train videos, but he's just talking about his life as he does, and just go watch. Yeah, someone, I'm not going to go digging, someone good who knows the name, put the link in the comments. And listen guys, on the comments, yeah, as you know, I've been struggling with my mental health over these past years, but you notice there's been a bit of a change, one in myself, and also getting damn content out. I mean, we are trending good. We've been getting lots of videos out. I'm getting regular, and the fibre is working good. And one of the things that's really helping me is your comments underneath saying you're liking me being back. It's giving me a boost. So if you can't help me on the wish list or anything like that, or Patreon or PayPal and that sort of stuff, getting in the comments and just saying you're glad I'm back and you're looking forward to more videos, that helps. Right. It also helps on the YouTube algorithm. So if you're not subscribed and you're smiling at the idea of this guy, tap the subscribe button earlier. The earlier you tap a subscribe button in a video, the more YouTube thinks I'm awesome. So let's work together, yeah? Fight power against the algorithm. Community. Because we are. We're out doing our hobby. With the Trainiacs. Right, as you can see. I should warn you, yeah? I've cut out sugar from my diet, but I've just had a fruit tea with honey in it. And that sugar in that, ooh, it took a hell of a kick. I'm like a toddler. I'm like a toddler in a sweet shop. I've got a sugar rush. So I think the best thing, because I realise I'm smiling too much, is I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to come back after that because I'm giggling. Right. I'll be back in a moment, guys. Right. That's my glycemic index. Back down to I won't say a normal state because I've still got a smile on my face, but I'm not giggling like a little toddler. Simple joys in life. But more importantly, let's talk terrain. Right, down to the table. Okay, here we've got my terrain. Obviously the swamp set we're working on. As you can see, yeah, it's all sealed up. Yeah, I've done this off camera because it's just sealing it with watered down PVA. Yeah, last video we did the sort of swampy effects. You can see sort of a glossy effect on that. I'm 50-50 on it at the minute. I kind of quite like it, but I might knock it back with a little bit of an airbrush of matte once it's done and make it a little bit more perfect. But I'm quite happy to game on something like that, so that's done. Same with the with the clump foliage. It's all pretty firm. There's some little bits which, you know, a little bit softer. They could also do with another little bit of touching up after it's done, because it's perfectly fine as it is. So that's what you've got to be thinking about when you're doing your terrain, guys. Yeah, just think about, is it done? At this point, am I happy with it? Is it functional? Can I use it? You know, can you get on the table? Is it going to fall apart? Does it look good? Because once it is, you can revisit it and do the extra stuff then. And it's a lot easier. In my mind, it's a lot easier thinking about, yeah, I'm thinking about mushrooms. Yeah, calm down. I'm not that. I know I'm going a natural route, but, you know, I'm not Radagast. Not yet, anyway. I've got the staff. Anyway, terrain. So here's the battle plan. I'm quite happy with this. I've given the trees a bit of a dark wash. They've come out quite nice. I've got plans to highlight those and do some funky stuff with those, some drapey stuff. But we'll do that once it's done. But we need to do the resin because it's not done until we've done that. And there's so much doing in there. I'm done. Right. I'll get the giggles. Calm down. It does make me happy, and it does. And remember, laughter is the best medicine. Boosts your immune system, you know. Drops your cortisol levels. Yeah. And your cortisol levels affect how your immune responds. So the less stressed you are, the more healthier you are. So the more giggle and more laugh, yeah, the healthier I am. It's positive, genuinely. Just looks a little bit nuts because it's hyped up on sugar. Right, so we're going to do the resin. Now, resin pour is dead simple. We have done resin on the channels many times, but it makes sense that I just take you through it. Now, right now, I'm prepping, and I've got my resin and my hardener, and I've got them in bearable hot water. And what I mean by bearable is I can stick my hand in it quite comfortably. Yeah, that's how warm you need to get the resin. You don't want to warm the resin up too much. You don't want to use too hot water, because one thing a lot of people forget when they mix resin is resin, when it mixes, causes an exothermic reaction. It gets hot itself. You can take cold resin, hold it in a cup, mix it with its hardener, and the mixing process will warm it up. You can feel it quite warm, yeah, in your hands. So if you stick it in really hot water, yeah, and really warm it up before you mix it, then when it mixes, it gets even hotter. Yeah, it can melt the plastic. Yeah, it has been known to melt thin plastic and stuff like that when you get an extreme exothermic. So you don't want it too hot. So if you can stick your hands in comfortably, and you can wash your face in comfortably, or and you don't feel this is too hot, that's okay. It's not going to get much hotter than that. Okay, you can handle it. It's not a concern. Now, the reason that we're actually warming it up is because it's a viscosity, it's thickness. The warmer it is, the easier it flows. Okay, and that's what we want. There are times when you can actually not warm it up and actually go for a thicker resin. And this is quite often if you want to apply it and get certain effects and that sort of stuff. So if I was going to apply it and I wanted to use it in reinforcing, say, a waterfall and give an epoxy effect on a waterfall, I wouldn't thicken it. I'd give it a really good stir, yeah, but I wouldn't warm it up and make it too fluid. Or I'd use a mix, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a material, not a technique. Yeah, once you actually know it and you've used it a lot, then you can do a hell of a lot with it. Now, one of the things I've also done in preparation for this video is, as you know, those following along, I've been working on my staff. Yeah, this is my rod of Asclepius. Yeah, some people will know what that is. Be curious. Yeah, but it's getting there. It has been red. In fact, why am I showing you there? Let me show you on this camera. Right, as you can see, yeah, it's a bit messy, yeah, because it's drips. I have been learning a lot about working with resin. You don't really understand and appreciate the viscosity and what you can do with resin until you're trying to pour it into cracks in a cylindrical object, yeah, and trying to build it up whilst it's also leaking through the cracks in the cylindrical object. Now, the other thing is, yeah, I did Carly for 15 years. I studied under Dave Carnell, who was Kaz Magda's representative in the UK, and I've trained with Kaz Magda and Dana Santiago. It's like concrete. It's epoxy resined all the way through, but it's really sturdy. But in the process of doing that, I have learned a lot about resin. Yeah, a lot more than I knew. Yeah, so will you be learning what I've learned in times to come? Yeah, because it doesn't really apply to this one, but viscosity does. And with this, yeah, a thicker resin actually works really better. Yeah, so there's times when you might want to change the viscosity, but generally you want to warm it up. Just leave it till it's submerged. Yeah, that's warm on my hands, but not burning. So once that's warmed up, we're going to mix it up. Now, mixing it up, we always double pot. Yeah, we always use scales. Yeah, these are scales. It's one of the few times where I actually wear gloves. And we'll be putting down a bin bag. Okay, this is to basically just protect the what. If you have any spills or anything like that, alcohol or surgical spirits, yeah, really cheap. Got this from the local chemist. Yeah, all you've got to do is just dab it on a bit of tissue, wipe it off. This will last me for a year or two easily, and it costs a couple of pounds. So if you're working with resin, you want an alcohol. Yeah, you used to be able to get alcohol wound wipes for like the sterile wipes for what, but they don't do them anymore. But you can nip into your pharmacist, just tell them you want some surgical spirits, and if they ask you what it's for, yeah, because sometimes they do, because these can be used by some people to, you know, make drugs and things like that and do things. I'm not actually sure what they do with it, but I know that pharmacists are a little bit curious when you wander in and ask for them. So just tell them you want it as a solvent for cleaning up epoxy resin. Yeah, it's alcohol based. Yeah, they're completely fine with it, but you want some of this. If you're working with resin, you want some of this, because you will always get spills, and if it gets on your hands, soapy water and hot doesn't dissolve it. It's not what's the term for dissolving something? The chemical. Let me know. I'm still struggling with certain terms, you know, but it's not something that will make it soluble and make it go away. Come on, there's a chemist. There'll be a chemist who can explain the terminology, and I'd like that. I'd like to get it refreshed. So that's what you call it. So that's the prep. Basically, I'm going to lay down some plastic. My resin's warming up. I'm going to get a couple of pots, a couple of stirrers. I'm going to glove up, and we're going to do some resin pours. Now, we've also got to add some tinting too. So we'll talk about the tinting, but for the tinting, yeah, you can use tinting. Think about the cartoon. Yeah, I've already messed around with these. Now, for those of you who remember a few months ago when I was delving back in and I was a little bit more struggling with my mental health, and I worked out the right colour ratio, but I was mixing resin with resin and not resin and hardener. And, you know, it wasn't setting, so I was completely confused over that. I'm a lot better now, as you can see. I've figured out, you know, mix resin with hardener, but we've already mixed the whatchamacallit. Now, these are from Easy Composites. That's because my resin of choice is glass cast. Okay, I try not to get the drips anywhere, but it's called glass cast. I use glass cast 3. What the glass cast comes with numbers. 1 second, just a sec. Glass cast comes with numbers, and basically it's the minimum pour that it will remain crystal clear for. So glass cast 3 is basically a coating resin. It'll stay clear for for coating things and up to about a 3 ml pour. Then after that, it starts to get a bit cloudy. And what I mean is it doesn't go cloudy a minute, but that's the moment it goes from crystal clear and there starts to be loss of actual clarity through it. Okay, I mean, it's not much, you're hardly noticeable from terrain point of view, especially if we're adding pigments, but it's designed for making like clear coatings of floors. And, you know, now they also do a glass cast 10 and a glass cast 50. So if you want something that's going to be clear all the way up to, or perfect clarity, as you know, as you can get all the way up to 10 millimeters depth, glass cast 10. And if you want something up to like 50 millimeters depth, glass cast 50. There is nothing more than that. So if you're going to want like a really encase something, you have to do it in progressive pours to maintain the clarity. Now, the important thing to remember with the glass cast, is not to worry, because it only starts to lose. It doesn't go completely occluded or anything. So you don't need to worry about it. But that's where the numbers come from. It's the how deep you can pour it, how much you can put, the depth of the pour before it starts to get in. Now, I don't know why chemically that is. I'm curious, but quite interestingly, glass cast is made literally just up the road from me. When I say just up the road, I mean it's about a mile away from my house, and I pass it on the way to the woods that I go and watch it and do my grounding in. So I'm actually thinking I might go up and see them, and just take my rod with me, go see them and actually find out why it is. I'll come back, I'll report on that, bring it back to you. But I'm curious. But coming down to terrain, what we've got is our resin. Right, get back onto terrain because we've been talking about. Okay, here's my piece. All my swamp pieces have got pretty much these recesses for the resin because we wanted the wet look. But one thing I want to notice is you can see how the actual flocking is patchy. Yeah, it's a bit patchy there, and it's a bit excessively patchy on that one. This was actually done on purpose. This is excessively patchy. This got carried away with itself. You get the patchiness because when you put down the sealing coat, when you're doing the flocking, it reactivates the PVA that originally, it becomes sort of loose. And if you work especially wet, it can cause the water to sort of retract, and it'll take the flock with it, especially if there's not much. And this is only a thin coating, and it'll retract. Okay, and you sort of get these gaps. At the same time, you can get sort of edge flow. So if I bring it up, you can see where the edge is. Now, normally in this situation, if this had happened on a terrain piece, all I'd do is I'd just get a little bit of watered down PVA. I'd just dab it all along there and re-wet this. And I'd just sprinkle just a little bit more in my flocking. And then I'd just drop a couple of drops of the same water PVA straight over the top in one hit and just leave it. And it always fixed it and it blends it in perfectly. Okay, in this case, I've got no intention of doing that because I want to use this. This was actually purposeful. Some of these gaps, not all of them, but some of them were purposely scratched in with my pipette as I was actually doing it. The reason I did that was because I actually want to introduce the wet look further. It actually happened by accident on the very first skull I did. Yeah, so when I did the first skull, as you can see, yeah, this was the very first piece that I did before I started the terrain set, and it sort of set the theme for it. Okay, and I've improved off the back of it. But I got this sort of effect, and I thought when I got it, I actually quite like that. What I'll do is I'll add some resin or something into that and give it a wet look. And so that's what I thought I'd go with. Yeah, on this one, I purposely, yeah, made scratches. And to give you an example on this piece, you can see those scratches there. They're almost like parallel lines. I'm pretty sure with that one, that's where I went and just squiggled a bit just to get some on there. Yeah, so some of these are mistakes or not mistakes, but what happens when you terrain build. Yeah, you didn't make a mistake. Okay, it's just a thin coating of PVA on a very sloped area with a very wet wash that was also pre-soaked. Yeah, now a pre-soak is where before you put your sealing coat on, you just hammer it with water. So these were drenched with water, and then they had the PVA stuff dripped into them. The reason why I didn't spray them with PVA was because I also, at the same time, that's when I sprinkled the little bits on. So I used the water first, got those on for the water to sort of hold them in place, then I dripped the PVA in on top, yeah, to seal them in place and hold them. So it's had a lot of water in. Yeah, a lot of water in this one piece, and that's why it's so gappy, and that's why the edging is so significant, and on the sloped areas I've got a significant drop. It's an easy fix to fix. If I wanted to fix it, I might even change it a bit in once it's done. But right now we're going to be adding some effects. Now right now I'm 50-50. I don't know whether I'm going to hit it with some gloss varnish, but I actually feel it might be better to hit it with a little bit of gloss Mod Podge. Yeah, now I'm not sure of the actual, I've used this in the past, I've used it for water effects. Yeah, we could thin it down a little and just dab it on. I think that would be better, and it's easier to manipulate and work with than resin or perhaps perhaps gloss varnish. So I think I'm going to go with Mod. Yeah, the Mod of the Podge. Mod Podge. Yeah, for that's the effect. But the next stage we need to really do is to get our resin mixed up. So we've got our pieces. I need to prep my work surface. Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll get in the pour and I'll show you the techniques. Yeah, share some tips on how I mix the resin up, but also how I avoid getting spills and things as I go from piece to piece and stuff like that. But first, I need to clean my work area off, because as you can see, this is for building. We're resin casting, you want room. Yeah, you don't want to be knocking anything over by chance and hitting something and flinging resin up on anything expensive, such as a kitchen work side, because they're expensive to replace. Yeah, when you don't notice the resin's set and it's epoxy. Anyway, I'm going to do my clearing up. We're back after the flash. Right folks, we're ready to go. I'm set up. Let me talk you through the setup. So what I've got on the table here is I've got a nice big sheet of bubble wrap. Bubble wrap's actually, I found it's quite good. If you get resin pores on it, it sort of falls into like little grids around the bubbles. So I'm actually thinking of getting some larger, thicker bubble wrap for my resin work, because if there's only resin pores, technically they'll fall down between the gaps and not stick to the model, so they'll be easy to trim off. Something I'm interested in exploring. I'll get some bigger bubble wrap, and I haven't actually got any big bubble wrap. I'll pick some up. I'll have a play with that. But I'm using bubble wrap for this because I like it, it's here, and it works. Any plastic sheeting, resin won't stick to, so that's what you want to protect your work surface with. Next off, digital scales. Couple of cups, yeah, for double potting. Double potting is where you get an even mix. I'll talk you through it, but basically you need a couple of these. Yeah, my resin is all nice and viscous. Yeah, it's flowing nicely. I've also made a big case of making damn sure that as I've taken it out of the water, I have dried every little drop of water off this. Putting it simply, yeah, wetter is not better when it comes to resin work. Adding water to resin, it's a bit like throwing a gremlin in a pool. There's an exothermic reaction, it starts spitting and everything, and it is not good. So, yeah, always, yeah, after you've warmed your watch clip, just really make care to get any spills and drops. On top of that, if the water actually ends up in your resin as you're mixing and you mix it in, it can cause all sorts of problems with settings. So you really want to just like take a moment, use tissue, not a towel. Yeah, because the tissue will definitely soak up the moisture. Yeah, and just make sure that you got rid of all the moisture, especially underneath. It can hold water, and sometimes you get like drips holding a recess, and then they'll spill out and mix in, and you won't even realise. Right, next thing, because you've been hot handling resin, idiot. I've got resin on my hands. I need some gloves. Well, first I need to wipe this resin off with some surgical spirit, because I've been handling resin without gloves on. This is because I'm talking to you lot. Right. Let me just get it off my hands. And make sure I put the damn watchcut lid on. Otherwise, it's going to go everywhere. So it smells like a hospital now. Old times. That brings back fond memories. Oh yeah. That reminds me of old school physio. Right. Back to watchcut lid. So, put my pot on. I'm going to glove up. Her Majesty's Customs and Revenues. Pleased to meet you. What a job. Right, we're going to pour up our resin. Now, I'm looking at my pieces. I've got 6 pieces around here. 6, yeah? 7. A couple of them are relatively small, but I've got a few reasonable pours, including 1 and 2 big ones. Looking at the volume, I'm going to guesstimate about, I reckon, 80, 90 grams worth of resin. Now, these cups, I know from past experience, should hold easily 100 grams of resin. So I should be able to mix it up quite easy. To be truthful, I've got a vague memory that I was okay with, but I don't know how much it's going to fill it in. So we'll find out now. So first off, we're going to go with the resin. Yeah, set it up. I'm going to knock in. Right, this is a 3-to-1 mix. Yeah, no, it's a 2-to-1 mix, isn't it? Yeah, 2 parts by weight, 100 resin to 50 hardener. So 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener by weight. It's actually different by volume. Yeah, but we're not doing it by volume. But weight. So I want 60 grams in. Yeah, let's see how much 60 grams is. Okay, that's right, up to 30. Yeah, this will handle. Come on. That's a couple of grams. I just need 2 grams. It's one little blob. Ah, there you go. Yeah. Right. So, that's my 60 grams. Now, 30 grams of the hardener. And I'm pouring it right in the middle. The hardener is actually sort of denser, so it sits on top of the resin. And it doesn't start mixing until you mix it up. Right, so, right, we're going up to 90, aren't we? Yeah. Now, the hardener, it's thinner. It runs a lot easier, so I like to pour it in just a little stream. Just hold it there. Because if you get too much in, it does cause problems. So, take it gentle with this. Because otherwise, if you get it wrong, you've got to throw off the whole mix. And it's not cheap stuff. Right, okay. 2 more grams. Come on, give me a gram. Another gram. A bit more. That'll do you. Right, that's me 90, bang on. Right, next job is mix it up. Now, when I'm mixing it up, the process is dead simple. I'm going to stir it. Yeah, I'm going to stir it from the edges. I want to grab the resin from the edges. I'm trying to mix it into the middle. Okay? Yeah. Now, the hardener is at the top. The resin is at the bottom. So you want a looping effect. Yeah, it will go cloudy. And the cloudiness is the gas bubbles. Now, this does give off fumes. In small amounts, it's fine. You can be sensitive to it. But you should always do it in a ventilated area. So I'm going to just give this a stir, yeah, and then halfway through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it into this one. Now, the reason that I pour it is In cups like these, there's always going to be recesses and bits where I can't get the resin and the hardener to mix properly. And that could end up getting poured in. So if I pour it straight into a fresh cup, then it's already sort of pre-mixed what's going in there, and then I can stir it again. You get a far better mix. Now it's clouding. Yeah, and you see it's starting to have a proper effect because it's starting to bubble. Yeah, the bubbles are the chemical reaction. That's what's going to make it go clear. So next job is, look, that almost went over. Now, as you can see, by doing this, what I'm basically doing is I'm putting all the bottom resin at the bottom, and I'm making it, and I'm putting it, and it's getting dumped slap bang. I noticed I'm doing it over here. Yeah, but it's getting bang, slap bang. Yeah. Little tip when you're working with resin, yeah, when you are pouring things and you're getting things in, and you get that last little drainy little bit, yeah, the way to not get that spilt on the area is just rotate your cup round, yeah, and then pick it back up. Okay, it basically traps it in on the rim, yeah, and then you pick it back up. So there you go. Now I've got to mix this up, and we'll get the second sort of like little frosting, and then it'll go clear, and then we're all good to get ready to add our add our additives, our pigments. Right, I'll be back in a sec. Right, we're all done, and we're going to start off with the pigments. Now I've got two pigments here. I've got green and I've got burnt sienna, which is a reddy brown. Now the reddy brown it pretty much matches the colour tone of that, the reddy, brown of the ground, and the well, it's not a reddy brown, it's a greeny brown, but there's nice red flecks in the actual flocking, so it works. Yeah, I'm going to start off, and my ratio is, I've already worked this out previously, 2 of these, 1 of these gives a really good sort of swampy little resin mix. Now, how many drops I need, I'm going to work out first. So I reckon I'm going to put in 5 off straight off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's do 6. 6 is a nice even number. It works for the maths when working the ratios. I'll only need 3 of green. Give this a good mix up, see how thick and sort of translucent it gets. Now, once we mix it in, we should get a really good sort of, yeah, now they are. It's already looking murky and swampy. Next, we want to add a green in. We're looking at 3 drops of green. Yeah, because it's a 2-to-1 ratio we did. So, 1, 2, 3. All the classics are coming out tonight, aren't they? Yes, it is tonight. I'm in the studio. It's the evening. I've come hobby in my hobby den in the evening. Because I've been up the woods doing me bandit ecology. Now I'm going to mix this in. And as you can see, we're starting to get like a drabby, browny sort of swampy green. It's really nice. Also, by adding the extra pigment in, I got with the brown, I got it sort of like where it was still translucent. Yeah. Adding the extra little pigment in, it's just taking it a little bit darker, which is what I want. But you don't want too much pigment in with your mix. Yeah, you want just enough to get the effect, because if you put too much in, it actually softens it and it takes the gloss effect away from it slightly. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Yeah, which once I've got Lee in here and we've figured out my lighting in here like we've figured out at home, I can show you, because the lighting setup at home is brilliant. Yeah, so we need to step this up here. Right, next job, really quickly, is the resin pour. Okay, now, before I do the resin pour, there's something I need. Yeah, what should we use? We'll use this plate. Now, as you pour, you're going to want to take the resin away from the piece. One of the simple ways of making sure that you can sort of take the resin away from the piece is, as you're pouring it, sort of lift and put the plate underneath it and then move it on with a plate. That way you don't get drips on the actual edges. Now, one of the lucky things is, if I do make a mistake, which I probably will, it's not too bad because it's a swampy base and the edges can be, if there's resin on the edges, I'll just say I meant to do it. But I didn't. But, you know, we know. Yeah, so, simple pour. Whenever you're pouring resin, okay, Yeah, I'm going to go on the largest piece first because it's the easiest to show you the effect. What I'm going to do is I pour in the middle, yeah, and then spread it out and I nudge it out, which is why I'm keeping the cup hovering. You'll notice it's dripping, yeah. So that's what I'm doing basically. It will self-level, but I'm spreading it out, yeah. So add a bit more there. We may need to mix up a bit more. I may have completely underestimated how much I need here because we're using quite a bit. Right. Very quickly, I need to make a mental note. Yeah, so very quickly catch that, put that on there. Yeah, I want to push this in here. It's 90 grams of resin. We had 6 drops of brown, 3 drops of green. Now I've made that mental note, yeah, and I've also got it recorded on video in case I forget it. If I need to mix any more up, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, but basically what I'm doing is, in fact, I don't know why I'm doing it like this because normally I did it like this in the past. Now, what you will get with, oh, there we go, see, you'll get what's called capillary creep. At the very edges here, the texture of the actual surface of the, what you call it, so that needs a bit more in. The texture of the surface, okay, of the flocking, the bittiness, actually draws the resin in and up the banks. So it will actually soak up those banks. So let's just bring it round here. Let's get it where we need it. And then we'll let it level. Now, when it comes to leveling, I'm using the, what you call it, the sort of center of my workbench, which is, I already know, the levelest place. Now, one of the reasons I know it's the levelest place is because I've done a little experiment where I basically put a little bit of water with a little bit of flow aid onto a saucer, so it's a bubble, but then I put the flow aid so it flows, then I put it in places on my desk and I see if it pools in one edge. Yeah, if it pulls in one edge, there's a slight slope. If it sits completely level, it's level. Spirit levels, they say they're level, but they're not. Right, now I'm just going to dab this into the edges, just break up that little edge. But that is effectively the resin pour. And if I show it you, it's got a lovely effect. Now, we are going to have to need to heat it a little because we've got some bubbles. So very quickly, yeah, heat gun. Heat gun is a great way of just taking the bubbles that form. Yeah, you should be able to see them just popping. Now I'm doing it, taking it away because I don't want to melt have any effect on the. Yeah, I just want to get rid of the bubbles. Seems to be some bubbles in there that aren't coming out. We'll leave those. They're fine. I don't mind a couple of little imperfections. In fact, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, but yeah, let's do it. Right, flock. Yeah, I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but let's give it a go. Let's give it a little sprinkle. Oh, actually, that's quite nice. Don't want to go excessive though. Let's put a bit more there. Right, I'm experimenting. Wasn't planning on doing this. Yeah, but I like the effect. So we're doing that from now on. Right, yeah, that's good. Right, that is the basis of pouring the resin in. Now, I've got a reasonable amount left, but I'm going to have to mix up some more. But that is the resin work. That's what I'm going to be doing on the rest of the pieces. I think what the best thing to do is, this has already been a really good natter and that's so long. So I'm going to crack on with these, yeah, and then I'll come back once I've actually got them resined up and we'll wrap up this bit of the video before we move on to me showing you the next bit, because we're still going. It's good, isn't it? Right, cracking on time. Right, so all the resin's poured and made a bit of a boo-boo. Yeah, I had to do an extra 15 mil, but if you look, there's a slight colour difference between the two. Yeah, at such a small rate, an extra blob of green or a little bit heavier green made a difference. And if you look at our pieces, yeah, you can sort of see that there is a difference in the colour tone. Yeah, between that one and that one. All the rest go that, but this one's slightly more greener. Not a problem. That's fine. What we're going to do is we'll just adjust it. And what I mean by adjusting it is, since we're adding flock, we'll just add some heavily. We'll just scour it out a bit. And we'll just make the green look like this is a particularly thin and boggy bit. And also, it'll just slightly change it off enough. We shouldn't have a problem. Now, obviously, it's a bit excessive compared to the other places, so we'll just give a quick sprinkle to the other places. Yeah, go around the edges mainly, I'm going for. I don't need to fix these because they're just going to get fixed in the resin. Now, one thing I did do is I topped them up just at the end, okay? And I poured the little bit of excess resin that wasn't enough to do that one, yeah, and I poured that into the center of them. What that did is it pushed the flocking I sprinkled out and made little clear patches like you get in nature. So I quite like that. So we'll just put a bit more here, give it sort of a realistic look. Anyway, right, I'm just going to carry on sprinkling. This is pretty much it all done. All you've got to do now is leave it and then face the same thing that I've got to face, which is it all going to set level? Is it going to set? Is there any issues? Or will it all be beautiful? I'm pretty sure it's going to be beautiful. But you'll see out the fact. You're going to find out in about 20 seconds. Me, I've got to wait overnight. So, see you after the flash. Well, it's the morning after and they've set well. Here you go, have a look. There's our pieces. Now, this is the darker one. And then here's the others. And something interesting happened last night. I was at home and I was fretting. Okay, I was fretting about how that one is darker than all the rest. Now I've got the colours a little bit wrong. And now they're set a bit. Let me show you the actual difference in the colours. You sort of see that this one's slightly more greener. Now the truth is, when I mixed it up, I did notice it was slightly more greener. And my gut feeling was I shouldn't pour this in. But I did. I didn't follow my gut. Now, here's something interesting about you. Yeah, your gut feeling comes from a lot of different places, but one of the little places it comes from is that when your subconscious can pick up that there's something isn't right, it worries. And it puts itself in sort of like prepares itself for flight or flight mode. And one of the things it does is it shifts blood out your stomach into your muscles, so you're more energetic, because at rest 70% of your body's blood is in your stomach, well, not your stomach, but in your intestines and your digestive tract. It's in your gut, yeah. And so it wants it in the muscles, and so it takes it out, and that's why you get a little bit rumbling. Ooh, feel like that, you know. And your intuition and that sort of thing, that's a little bit of that. And I should have listened to that, and I should have just gone, no, I'm not going to pour this in, I'm going to mix up. Then when I started to pour it in and I could see that it wasn't the same, I shouldn't have gone, it'll be all right. I should have gone, no, that isn't right, and taken agency and dealt with it. But I didn't. Yeah, instead, we'll see. And it bothered me. And something occurred to me and it had me laughing. Yeah, really laughing. At the start of this video, we went on about focus on getting it done, not perfect. Celebrate finishing it, not perfection. You know what I mean? So the terrain gods have thrown me a curveball and gone, oh yeah, you want to do that? There you go. Celebrate that. That's not perfect, but the set is done, boss. So here I am. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, and after I did my extra sprinkling, which has worked really well, yeah, that's darkened some of the pieces down, and I look at it, it's like, do you know what? That actually just looks a bit more like really heavy bit of that bit there. Yeah, that's just the same. And there's another bit here. I mean, if I put this one here next to it, that's quite a dark one as well. I mean, there is a, let me just shift that there. There is a colour shift between them. Well, they're pretty close and they're solid. You know, we're good to go. So models can play on that. So it is done, isn't it? I've got it done. So I'm celebrating getting it done. So remember, folks, even if you do mess up, don't let that take it away from the set. Now, I did say that I wanted to add extra little details and stuff like that, and I do. But I've decided that's the perfection bit, because this is done. Yeah, this can be played on. And more importantly, I've tested it on the battle mat that we've done. I've got all the set, and I've already sent the set over to the lads over at Models for Heroes to say, it's done. I'm just going to work it up because we've got a bit of time while we work out what we're going to do with the raffle to raffle this off. Yeah, so I have the time to make it a little bit more perfect, because you can never make anything perfection, not in this. because you can always keep going, can't you? It's like a downward spiral of insanity. But this is done, and I'm happy, and I'm celebrating it. So remember, aim to celebrate getting it done, not perfection. And if it isn't perfect, look at it and see if it's done. And it is. Now, let's quickly run over the resin techniques I want to talk you through. Yeah. Always make sure that you clean any water off your resin, but warm it up. Yeah. You don't want spitting gremlins. That's important. Yeah. Double potting and double mixing. Yeah. Not spilling. Obviously, the key thing is if you have to mix another batch up, colour match it. And if it isn't the same, go with it. The other thing is, one of the issues that I had mixing this up and why the variation is so different is this was a bigger volume. Yeah, if I'd put one extra drop of green in this, it wouldn't really matter. This was a tiny volume. Yeah, one extra drop in green really made the difference in this. Yeah, so if you're mixing, you've got to mix up another batch. My suggestion is once you realize you're getting close and okay, I might not have enough. Yeah, quickly mix up a more bigger batch and then throw it in with the other one and mix it in with that. Or that's what I'm going to suggest. That's what I'm going to do. Unless someone gets in the comments and gives me a chemist reason why I shouldn't mix newly fresh epoxy with stuff that was mixed a couple of minutes ago. I can't see a reason because I did it on the base. You know, we pour into different mixes. But if there's any chemists out there like, actually, you don't want to do that, I'm opening to learning. But that's what I'm doing. Now, the other thing is pour into the center, spread it out, drag it out. You can see here, I've got my capillary creep. I actually quite like that piece. I'm celebrating it's done. And maybe that's closer to perfection than all the others. Yeah. But if you look at it, you can see that wet capillary creep. Now, what we're going to do is, I've got little things I want to play with, but shut up. Stop it. That one's going to haunt me in the comments from leaving it in because it's a giggle. Right. But there's little things I want to do to sort of enhance these sets. But I don't want to do like a long video of let's make this even better. But I've been putting little shorts out of little techniques of like 2-minute videos of, hey, just do this. And they've been well liked. So I'm going to do that through shorts. Yeah, so you are going to see that gloss, that capillary effect. And we use gloss Mod Podge, do some things and some extra things. I'm going to bang those out in shorts. The next video on this set that you'll see will be the one that basically shows off basically the quick summary of how it is right now before I add those little things. I'll be filming it tomorrow or Monday. Yeah. I'm going to save all the little perfection things and showing them all off together until the set's done. Okay, as in, not while the set is done, but until the set's getting ready, until we do the video to promote the actual fact that this is going off to be raffled, and you know, here's where the raffle is, the promotion video. That's when that's when you'll see all the extra little bits. Yeah, unless you're catching the shorts. But we're done. So I'm celebrating we're done. Huzzah! Fruit tea. I've cut down on the honey. Still smiling, it's lovely. Right, folks, that's me done. Right, I need to be honest with you because I've been talking with my art therapist and my counsellor, and they've told me in this sort of situation, I need to be frank with you. I am struggling financially because of the drop in Patreon supporters. So if any of you want to jump on Patreon, even as free members, if you consider signing up at a later point, jump on Patreon. If there's any of you can help me out on the PayPal links, that's great. If any of you don't like the idea of sending money but want to help me out with the studio, there's stuff on my Amazon wish list that if you get it me, I need it to make videos. Either you get it for me or I have to take money in, and get it anyway. So you're helping me out in my personal situation as well as in the studio by hitting the Amazon wish list. If you're not the sort of person who likes to send nuggets over or pledge long term on Patreon. But I am struggling financially, guys. Yeah. It's not desperate, but I ain't got anyone else to ask by you guys. And I've left it to the end because the ones who make it to the end are all the ones who enjoy and care the most. So I care about you. I could do with someone caring about me. It's a positive thing. Yeah. Anyway, and more importantly, it's done and I'm celebrating it. Now, I'm going to have to perfection, but you're going to have to see that coming shortly. Have a brilliant weekend, folks. I'm going to be in the woods, yeah, doing my natural therapy and that sort of stuff, clearing the paths and getting my oxytocin hit. I'm a happy bunny. You'll see this set, but also I also had a notice that I should be having a delivery of Sarissa buildings, yeah. So the cowboy stuff and the MDF stuff, yeah, and the customizing, we can go down that path even more because we're doing more of that. So see you soon, guys. All the best, yeah. Ta-ra.